Hi Tubies, here's Alexander again, and welcome back to the next part of how to paint Dark Vengeance. I have still here my colors, my color set I have for this tutorials. Here, Flesh Gets Yellow, Carrion Fleshstone, Caliban Green, Mephiston Red, Salador Sky, Mournfang Brown, Ulthuan Grey, Kabbalite Green, Ironbreaker, Nuln Oil Wash, and Imperial Primer. So, and the miniature we are painting now is a Dark Angel Space Marine. Yes, you demanded it, you wanted it, you want a new Dark Angel tutorial, and of course, here it is. So, last time, my last tutorial was all with a brush. And now, I decided we will do now one with an airbrush. So, what I've done so far is I've put out the miniature, cleaned all the mold lines, placed them together, and I very, very gently spray primed him with gray, with uniform gray spray primer from Army Painter. So, you can see that at the base that is very, very gentle. Also had my finger there. Damn it. So, and what I will do now, I use Imperial Primer. I have taken it into a little cup here for easier access into my airbrush. So, and what I will do now is our prime now the miniature with Imperial Primer. So, and this is also a test on how good this Imperial Primer is applied to the rubber. I haven't diluted it at all because it is quite thin. Making slightly progress, very gently, not too much at the same spot because then it will create wet spots that are spidering around, and you don't want that. So be patient, take your time, and very gently you get him dark. Okay, I will gently, very carefully go over him now with a with my hairdryer to let him dry, and go over it with a second coat. And I'll be back when he's totally black. Be right back. Okie dokie tubies, as you can see, the miniature is primed now. Okay, you could totally skip that step with applying a normal black spray primer, but I'm limited to the previous shown colors in this series, and also I wanted to test this Imperial Primer as a primer, and as you can see, it works. So, next step, I will take the same cup where I had the Imperial Primer in there, and into that I will fill a little bit of the Dark Angels green, or not Dark Caliban green. So, I think that's enough. So, clean the lid. Okie dokie. And then I will use some water to dilute the paint. Let's see if that is enough. I think that is a good consistency for the color. Yeah, we can take that. That will be our Dark Angels ground color. It's a little bit darker now than the Caliban green, but it will go. So for those of you that don't have an airbrush, I highly recommend my old tutorial, like I mentioned before. There I show you how to paint this miniature with just a brush, and if you're confused by the colors because they're too old and they are not produced anymore, then simply switch them out by the colors I use here. You can always use the brush on everything I'm doing here. So, and what I will do now is spray the Dark Angel now in a 45-degree angle. That means that in the shadow areas the dark stays. So, and always keep your airbrush in motion. You don't want to have the airbrush on one spot for too long time. And always start spraying outside the miniature. So start here and not directly on the miniature, because, well, as I mentioned before, the spider web syndrome could easily be applied to a miniature, and that looks horrible. So, he is now good green. A little bit here. This socket here between the backpack and the shoulders. So, yeah. I guess that's okay. So he is now really nice dark, and from underneath he is like very dark. So, okay. Now we will highlight this color here inside with a little bit of yellow. So, first we will add a little drop of water directly in the cup, and then shake the yellow, open the pot, and with a clean brush we will take some of the yellow and mix it directly here in the cup. I guess we need some more. That's not bright enough. We need some more. Okay, I think that's a good color, but it's too thick now, so we will simply add a little bit of water. 2 drops should be enough. Yeah, that's good. Mix it well until the bottom, and now we're good to go. We will start applying it on a paper towel until the color changes. There you can see the different tone now, and we can start applying it to our marine. We will start now in detailed places on the legs here, for example. Very gently, slightly pulling the trigger backwards until color comes out. Yeah, come on. Ah, there we go. I'm concentrating now on the lower part of the light. As you can see, here this part now is brighter than the upper part. And that way we get a nice, very nice color transition. Yeah, problem with working with acrylic paints and an airbrush is the clogging issue. You constantly have to clean your airbrush and get rid of some stuff here back at the needle. Yeah, and the sound in the background is obviously my compressor. So now we will work here on the on the knees. Very gently. There we go. You need an airbrush with a fine needle for that work. A 0.3 or 0.4 should be good enough. If you have a 0.2 airbrush, that would be perfect, but the acrylic paints have a tendency to block those airbrushes in a blink of an eye, and you don't have much fun with it. You can see I'm working now on other green parts. Like I would normally highlight the miniature with a brush, I take out the high spots. If you're starting with an airbrush, your first thing to learn, one of the first things to learn is target practice. To learn how to, aim with an airbrush and hit the right spots. Nothing is worse than if you're aiming for the head and the spray comes out back here at the backpack. That's not what you want. Here on the backpack pommels, how you want to call them, the exhaust pipes. Yeah, and I'm spraying here without my gloves, and I'm spraying in my fingers, but I can clean that off after that. So, yeah. Now in that angle, I'll go over the backpack. Yeah, that leaves shadow areas here underneath very slightly. Also here at his bottom. There you go. So, and I think I will go even brighter with this dark angel. Yeah. A little bit more light, maybe. You can see now the work we have done so far. So, now let's remove a little bit of the color from the cup. So, there we go. We don't need that much anymore. We will add more water. Yeah, that should be enough. And now we need more green. So, take your brush. Not more green, no more yellow. So, gently mix that in. Yeah, and that color looks good. That color looks good. clean your brush, close the pot. Now test spray again. And there we go. You can see the color change now. And now we will go for the even higher spots with your airbrush. There. Yeah, that looks good. Here you can see now the spiderweb syndrome. I've sprayed too much. So I will overspray it completely now to hide it. Good thing it was on a top spot. And that syndrome happens when you go too close with your airbrush and you have too high pressure, or you pull the trigger too far, or you go over a surface too often and the color doesn't dry that fast like you apply the paint. Many people say that using an airbrush with miniature painting is like cheating, but in my opinion that's totally bullshit, because an airbrush is simply a tool like your brush or your pencil or your screwdriver or your drill, your pin vise or anything else. To have an airbrush doesn't make you a perfect painter. It requires also very much training and skill, like using a brush. Just a different tool with different abilities, and you can also not do everything with an airbrush. So after the armor parts are done here, the airbrush work is done. The rest of the miniature will be painted by hand. The only thing the airbrush provides is a very nice color transition. That's the only real advantage of a airbrush. To achieve such smooth transitions with a brush takes you hundreds of hours with super liquid paint. And I think, yeah, that looks good enough. Looks good to me. So I will clean the airbrush now and be right back when we start painting him with a brush. Okay, tubies, now that the airbrush work is done, we can start to apply the other colors. We will start from the inside, so we will start with the eagle, and we will prime this with Mournfang Brown. Simply take the color and, as usual, just simply paint it on. Be careful now to not hit the airbrush work on the armor, because it's quite difficult to repair damage that is done on this part now. So, and also we'll start now with blocking out the other main colors. And by the way, I'm working right now with a size 2 brush, Kolinsky. brush is not well, the color is not properly flowing with the brush, then as usual just add a tiny little bit of water in the paint. So I get often the question, should I paint a miniature well separated with a bolter attached or not? I can't reach stuff under there. Well, actually, can you really see what is under there? No, so it doesn't matter if the bolter is attached or not. Nobody will ever rip off the bolter to watch if your Space Marine is painted underneath. So, does he have any parchment here? No. If he would have had any parchment, you could also prime this now with a brown. So, let's have a quick look at the miniatures, how he should be painted. So, the next part, red. Red is good. We can use it for the bolter, for the arrow on the shoulder pad, and for the eyes. And also, if he had parchment for this purity seal, then we use now Mephiston red, and as a base we will mix it with a brown and a little bit of the primer black. So yes, you can mix actually 3 colors. We don't have that on our color chart from last time, this one here, but yes, with adding a 3rd color you can also expand your color range. So wash out the brush properly, set properly, there we go. Take some of the black and darken it down. Yes, that's a good red, brownish red color, nice and dark for the first shadow areas. So adjusting the amount of color on your brush, and then simply apply it to the areas that need to be red. Very easy, very simple. And don't worry if it doesn't cover 100% in the first stroke. We will go over there a second time and then it will cover. This is, like I said, just the base color. So the arrow is done. Now the bolter case. Well, I will skip the bolter case and be right back. So there I'm back. The bolter case is done, and now it's time for the eyes. Very gently make the back corner, then you turn the Marine over and paint the inner corner. See? If you would have made it entirely, you could have possibly hit other parts of the armor that you don't want, and that wouldn't be so good. Remember, you can always turn your miniature. And if you're wondering what this stuff is, that is holding the miniature, this is an old paint pot, and this is sticky tack or blue tack or poster tack, however you want to call it. Okay, now let's paint here the symbol, the chapter symbol. For that we need a little bit dark gray, and we will take our Ulthuan gray and mix this with Imperial Primer again. So just take something on the palette. And then, like before, take the primer and mix it in. Yep, That's a good color. And yes, of course, if you don't have Imperial Primer, you could also use black for that. That's not a big problem. So, and now, just simply paint the symbol in gray. Also quite easy. And like usual, I will skip ahead. Yeah, he actually starts to look like a completed Space Marine, but we are not done yet. Now's the time to start paint on the silver parts. Like for example in here, the rest of the bolter. Like that. Or here, the front, the respirator. Very carefully. Just dabbing with the tip of the brush. Also turn the miniature around if you need to. So, yeah. Then here the little wires at his backpack. And I also like to do this little moving parts of the armor in silver. Just like that. Very gently, very carefully. And as you can see, the whole work, what we are doing right now, is not that hard after all. I have so many people met in my life that had said, oh, I cannot paint. This is too tricky for me. I don't can concentrate so much. But in the end, they all can paint. It's not that hard. It looks like magic, but it isn't. It is just a matter of practice. The more you practice, the better your miniatures look. And in the end, you will make YouTube videos and show other people how to paint. And I think my brush is nearly at the end of his life. I'm cutting more and more hairs away that are traitors, but I think I have to replace him in time by a new one. This one has lasted me a long time, and it's time for me to move on to a new brush. So, I guess you get the point. I will skip ahead until all the metal parts are done. Okay, tubies, now the metal parts are all done. And it's time now to start with the highlights. We'll start with the red. Here we take pure Mephiston red directly from the pot. And we will go over the arrow here. And as you can see, I've replaced my brush with my standard brush from Citadel. It's not a perfect brush, but it does the purpose. And the color is too dry, so I'll put a little bit of water in it. Yeah, much better. And you can see with the undercoat we have applied first, this is now quite easy to achieve. Normally it's quite hard to get a good covering coat of red, but with a good undercoat, that's not a problem. So, now to the boulder. And leave in the cracks and crevices a little bit of the old color behind. That way it gets more three-dimensional. Just go over the main parts. That is done. Now for the eyes. We will paint now the front part of the eye. Like that. So you have a darker red in the back and a brighter red in the front. Like that. So we will brighten up the red now with a little bit of yellow in it. To a nice orange. See there? And with that we will paint now the very front of the eye. See? And the same on the other side. Now we take our Ulthuan Grey and we make a tiny little dot at the back corner of the eye, like that. That way the eye gets a three-dimensional look, and we are quite happy. So with the Ulthuan Grey, we make now a 2-to-1 mix with the black. So you can see, here's the new mix, there's the old mix. And we will start to highlight now the symbol, and as you can see, the color is breaking on me. That's a sign that we need a little bit more water in the paint. That I mean by flow of the paint. And I guess that's too much water, but don't worry, we can fix that. Yeah, that's good. Very carefully we will paint almost the entire symbol. In the corners here, for example, next to the sword, we will leave the dark gray so that we have there a shadow area. So, like that. And now we take our pure Ulthuan Grey and we will highlight the top parts like here, the sword pommel, then here the top of the symbol, So, and then the lower parts of the wings. And the top front here of the sword. That way we get a little bit transition in it. So, no, that doesn't look right. Just paint it in gray. Okay, there we're done. Now let's see, what else do we have to do? Yeah, the front eagle. So we'll mix now the Mournfang brown with our Ulthuan grey to create a beige. Yeah, that should be okay. Now you wipe off the brush a little bit on a paper, and then you slightly go over it like that. It's almost like dry brushing, but with a much wetter state of the brush. And be careful not to hit the armor. Okie dokie. Now we will add a little bit more of the Ulthuan grey. To make it even brighter. And I have to cut here because my battery is running out. Be right back. Yeah, sorry for the interrupt. There I'm back. And we were still here at the chest eagle. Same procedure, but we will add a little bit on the inside there of the old color. So now we'll paint the top. And ta-da, the chest eagle is done. So, and I guess this miniature is almost gaming ready. Last thing to do, after closing the pots, so, we need a little bit more depth into the miniature, and for that we need now our Nuln Oil. So with that we will go over the metal parts of the bolter. Then here the bullet chamber. Here at the hands. Basically with a shade or wash, or however you want to call it, liquid color or ink, you have an instant shade. And with that you can create shadows. For example, here the whole back part of the bolter is normally in shadow, so you can simply go ahead and wash this whole area. Oh, there I have hit the shoulder pad, but while it is still wet, we can correct that with a wet brush. See, no damage. No Space Marine were harmed in this video. So this video is also aimed at beginner painters, not professional painters. So if you want to have a real professional painting tutorial with a super awesome paint job, then you should check out the tutorial from Awesome Paint Job, or maybe from Rockland. He also made a tutorial on his Deathwing Terminator lately. Also really nice. Yeah, so back at the backpack here. You can also add a little bit of the shadow of the wash. So, and if you're really fancy, you can start to shadow other areas, like here, for example, down at the feet. There, and while it is still wet, you will clean off the back part of the boots. So, there we go. Then, very gently going along this line here. Make it that way. So, bloop. And then wipe off the edges. Okay, here at the backpack. Need a little bit more. There we go. So then, oh, I totally forget this area here. Sorry. But we can fix that. We can fix that. It's not a problem. We can fix that. This needs to dry before I go in there with the wash. So we will concentrate on other areas. Here, for example, increasing that. So, and I guess that's okay. Maybe here a little bit at his neck. Yeah, that's good. And voila, the Space Marine is done. It is playable now. For easy playability, you just simply paint the base in brown or green, or however you want to have it, or even in black. Or, well, we could simply just make it an easy base now. So there we go. There could also be a little bit. Yeah. So let's make a base, shall we? Let's remove that from the holder. For that we need white glue. I have it here in that old paint pot. And we need sand. So let's take an old brush, like this one here. Now we will paint the base in white glue. Gently, not hitting the feet too hard. Then this is not a problem. Then this should be not a problem. That's what I wanted to say. Yes. So, and if you are impatient and want to know how to paint your Chaos Space Marines from the Dark Vengeance set, well, on my channel I have quite a lot of Chaos Space Marine tutorials. That should all be perfect for the new Chaos Space Marines. If you don't know how to convert your actual paints right now to the new ones, then you should go to the website from GW. They have a color chart where they say what old colors are the new colors, or are equivalent to the new colors. So, as you can see, I have just pulled it through the sand. Now you have here a little bit sand on the feet, but that's not a problem. Just wash your brush while it is still wet, and you can wipe off the sand particles. It's not a big deal. There you go. Go along with a finger on the side to clean it off, and there you go. Completely sanded Dark Angel now. And now we will give the sand also a wash with Nuln Oil, quite heavily, and we will drop on our. That's the reason I have this paper here, to protect my painting surface. Very gently, because the sand is still wet. And for those of you that want to know what kind of sand I'm using, this is a mixture out of sand from a children's playground, some birdcage sand, and some gravel for decoration. This orange or brown ones in there are the decoration gravel. The bird sand is a very, very fine sand, and the children's playground sand has many, many different textures, from bigger sand grains to relatively small ones. So, this base needs to dry now, and I'm back in a second. So tubies, the wash at the base is dry now, and now let's give the base the finishing touches. I took here Ulthuan Grey again, and I will mix it with Imperial Primer again to make a darker grey, like that. So, and with that I will slightly go over the sand to give it a great texture. The wash is not completely dry yet, but what the heck, does not matter. Okay, and now a finishing dry brush with pure Ulthuan Grey. Just at some spots here and there. And voilà, that should be it. That should do it. Whatever. So now let's paint the base corner in Mournfang Brown. And then our Space Marine is ready for the gaming table. I hope you liked this little tutorial. As I said before, this is a tutorial aiming at the beginner painters with a limited color palette, but I think we managed to pull it off quite nicely. So let that dry, and if it is necessary, go over it a second time after it is dry. So, but I think this is a pretty nice standard marine. Feel free to leave a comment or thumbs up. Share it on Facebook with your friends. And don't forget about junk and stuff, and get crit! No, seriously. Until the next video, you're Alexandra.